All right, folks. Well, on that note, while we're waiting for community questions, I'm going to share with everyone that Max is not able to make it today. He's very busy. So all I have for you from the dev team are our beautiful Joe and Ollie, who you already know if you've ever attended one of these DevRel AMAs before. If you didn't, then welcome. And yeah, Joe, what have you been up to this week, or these past 2 weeks, I should say?
Yeah, guys. So I was actually gonna say something about the release coming up, but yeah, what I've been doing is going over some tutorials. So the IPFS stuff is actually up and not up on the GitHub or like the website. However, it is completed, but the tutorial is in a status where, to be honest, I feel it's a bit long. And I think if half of you guys were going through it, I mean, I think it's the case for me for sure. But when you're going through it, I think I would probably fall asleep because there's just so much copy pasting, all this stuff like that. So we're actually going through and re-amending a lot of stuff. And I've been doing the same thing for the existing one, which is the simple service provider. So it'll be a lot more, not as extensive as it is now, and I think it will just be a lot easier to read as well. So hopefully, have some applications being bashed out by whatever developers are wanting to do their thing. So that's what I've been doing.
Can you share a link for that, or is it not online yet? Sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, I can share you the existing one. However, I would be saying that the better version is up and coming. Where do you want me to check the link for that?
The community call channel, if you can, or just shoot me through. We have a new crazy person around the community who's really much into IFPS. So I just wanna forward this to him.
Yeah. So this is where you'll find the tutorials. So that's this one for the simple service provider one. And under it, you've got the placeholder for the IPFS one. But yeah, we're going through that because, like I said, it's just a bit lengthy, right? Like there's just so much code that I put in there, and you want to condense it for sure. So yeah, that's the status on that. But that's where you'll be able to access the tutorials on the dev portal in the future, or now actually.
Cool, thank you. But it's pretty handy because there's a table of contents on the right hand side, so it's people can just zoom in on certain parts.
Yeah, I think it would. Go on, sorry.
No, sorry, go on.
No, I was saying I think when Max was looking over a lot of stuff, he and Ollie put together this MD Books thing, which is relatively new. Regarding the docs and the dev portal, and I think it's just a lot better to navigate.
That sounds pretty awesome, actually, and can't wait to see it go live. Or it's still in the beta stage, right?
Yeah, we're redoing it right now. We're redoing a lot of docs. It's always in reiteration. But yeah, this is something growing right now. This is just kind of the level one, so to speak.
Awesome. Well, before I ask Ollie the same question, welcome to all our new joiners. Welcome to the bi-weekly DevRel AMA. You can leave your questions in the community call text channel. I'm going to tag you all there just to see where. And until then, we're going to be warming the stage by asking our beautiful people from DevRel what they have been up to for these past 2 weeks. What about you, Ollie?
Yeah, cool. So sorry guys, I wasn't here for the last DevRel AMA. I was actually off with COVID, so I've just jumped back straight into the mix with things just to kind of catch up on what's been going on. So yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Joe said, I did a bit of work on the dev portal and the new docs made in MD book. So we're trying to, for you that don't know about the dev portal, we're trying to make it a bit more of a playful area where you can go to understand about Nym. So there's tutorials there, which Joe has excellently put together for us. So stuff on the simple service provider, as well as the IPFS stuff. So we're trying to make it as welcoming as possible, just to jump straight into Nym. If you've got some developer background, it'll be a nice place for you to just have a play with a couple of the technologies that we have, which is really, really cool. So yeah, I've jumped back into the mix of like, making the documentation a lot better. A good example of something would be me documenting stuff on like reward estimation for your mixed nodes. I realized there wasn't something there for you guys to actually know, for you node runners to know about, like, the total amount of rewards you have, the operator rewards, the delegator rewards, and how that money, how the UNIM is actually divided up individually, and if you're running through the validator API just to see those values. So yeah, that's been the main points of my return. Also, we have the dev grantees, which have been paid last week for their work that they've been doing. So we're trying to get some work around the first round of the grants, which is the Vin. Well, am I saying it properly? Vin, is it pseudo?
Binge.
I have no idea.
Vinge.
And
Is it Vinge or Vin? I think there's some like sort of accent that should be there for me to say it properly. But yeah, we've got the first payments out. We're trying to get. We've got people in Matrix. We've opened up a new community room where this room is available for the dev grantees to ask any questions, to get that developer support, want to report, and we're constantly just keeping our eyes out for anything related to the dev grantees there, which is cool. But yeah, just more documentation, just keeping the ball rolling with dev grantees, and yeah, just trying to support our community by making any resources and videos and stuff available to them.
Can I ask a follow-up question about the reward estimation? What specifically are you documenting? So are you documenting the math, like how different things are calculated, and what the different like what the definitions are for the terms that are used, or something else?
What was that for? For the like the unims, how that's distributed with the reward system? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm just. You said you were preparing documentation for reward estimation, right?
Yeah, so that's all up on the main docs already. That's on the new version of 1.1.9. 1.1.10 will be soon out for people to take a look at with some new additions. So I'm just going to tease you there. So yeah, that was just a good example of something that was requested by Sven to be added. So it's one of our validator APIs for operators to use, mixed node operators to use, kind of get like an estimation of rewards that they could earn for running like a Nym mix node by using like a specific mix ID, which you can retrieve from the Network Explorer. So I've got some knowledge within the API, so I'll just use Postman just to see, hey, how much money, how much of UNIM is in the total rewards, how much of the operator's going to get, how much of the delegator's going to get, and the operating costs of running that mix node is going to be. There's some calculations there that are already pre-built within the system for us to get those values, but the mixed node operators are not going to need to worry about like how that's really calculated. But yeah, I've still put information about that, but they just want to see those values and be like, hey, okay, I've got some values here, we can work with that. It's just extra information to kind of like kind of groom them into being a better operator, knowing what the value stands at.
That sounds pretty awesome. And does that also will it also be useful for delegators?
Delegators, yeah, 100%. Yeah. So one of the strings there give you like the estimated amount of awards that a mixed node delegators can expect to receive individually. So that's interesting to know. So that value will be very tailored to them, as well as some other stuff as well, some operator costs and node profit. But yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have our first community questions, so let's jump straight into it. If any of our audience has any more questions, then make sure to leave them in the community call text channel. So the first question from Sven, our favorite Sven, aka CGI Ben, are any new SDKs planned, like Go or Python?
Ooh.
As far as I know, we're still scheduled for the Rust one. The Rust one is going to be obviously there is a version of the Rust one at the moment available, but I think when it comes to like officializing like an actual Rust SDK, that's yet to go ahead and say like, okay, here's the definite Rust SDK that you can use. As far as Go and Python at the moment, Not as I'm aware, but I think there's talks of like that coming after we get over these humps with the other things.
Yeah, so we've got no official announcement about like some new plans, the additional SDKs using the programming languages such as like Go or Python. But yeah, like Joe said, we're just trying to get the Rust one over the line and build some documentation about that.
Totally. No, I'm glad Sven actually asked it because I was actually going to ask like it's a bit weird. I was going to actually ask like a question to you guys like related to that kind of thing. But I'll do that at the end.
Right. Well, okay, this may be a bit of a new question. This is coming from me, but what is an SDK? So if you say, I know what it stands for, the abbreviation. So it's Software Developer Kit. But what does that mean? So what does that mean when we have a Rust SDK? How do I imagine that?
So
And sorry if it's a very obvious question for a more developer trained audience.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I think anyone that's new to this call, it's good to explain it from the very inception of it all. So, like Suda just explained, so SDK is a software development kit. It's like a collection of software development tools and libraries that developers can use to build applications that they interact with. So, in the perspective of Nym, they're going to be able to use those tools to interact with the Nym network. So specifically, an SDK in Nym provides developers with the set of tools that enables them to easily integrate with the privacy enhancing features within our application, which is really cool. And this may include tools such as generating anonymous credentials. I'm going to whisper ZK Nyms there, Coconut, and then facilitating anonymous communication, like using a client, so the WebSocket client, using the Cosmwasm client, using the, oh my God, what's the last one?
Box 5?
SOX 5, one of the most favorite ones, has the easiest interface to use. And performing privacy preserving transactions. So that's my knowledge of SDKs plus Nym, basically. Have you got anything to add to that, Joe?
I actually used to think that SDK stood for Source Development Kit. Like I didn't even omit the software bit, but like how I've always interpreted it in my mind as like a very low level, like a very kind of Janet and John concept is a bunch of code that I can plug into my project, which can do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. So I don't need to figure out a lot of the stuff that involves the technology that I'm trying to integrate into it. That's what I just have it as in my mind. So like yeah, I guess it's all about interpretation, really.
That's good that we actually mentioned. I think that's good that you even mentioned that, Joe, that you thought it was something else to what it actually is. So you've kind of interpreted it in a different way, and that's great that we're talking about it now, so everyone gets like a full understanding of what this equation is, SDK plus Nym. What does it give you and stuff, and what can you do with it? But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It definitely does, and thanks for that. It actually clarified it in my mind. And I don't need to feel embarrassed about not knowing this anymore. We have the what seems to be becoming an absolute war between two sides of our community, and even I think two sides of the team. So the question is, why renaming Coconut to ZK Nym? Now I will say, guys, this is not up to the DevRel team, of course, to decide. This is something that's for Nym as a project to decide, and the name is not final from what I know. So I will dig up the link to our survey that you can fill out and you can share your thoughts. But actually, I don't know. For me, it was obvious that ZK Nym is such a good name because it is of course it's Nym, so it's very obvious that it's from us. It is our brand, and then it's also ZK, which is becoming a big thing nowadays, rightfully so. It's going to be a very important technology going forward, or type of technology going forward. But as it turns out, it's not that obvious for people because a lot of people would like to stick to coconut credentials. Other people preferred ZK credentials, and everybody has their own reasons. So let's do a roundtable. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny because I've seen this hovering around internally about the whole what should we call this? And I think that's just a business decision for it to be called CK Nym, so we can actually slap our branding on it. But it essentially does the same thing. Like for you that don't know, like Coconut system is like creating anonymous credentials. So that'll be very beneficial for like getting information about a particular person, without actually needing, hardcore or like needing very sensitive data about that person. So it's like zero knowledge proof. So I can't say it properly. Validity of the anonymous credentials will be provided through Coconut, but obviously, I think that decision is just to slap the ZK Nyms there instead as like our Nym branding in a way.
Yeah, I'd second that. Like, I think mainly, like, I think I can roll with the name, CK Nym. I think as long as like Ollie was saying, the concept and the technology behind the coin is still utilized the same way, I'm all for it. But of course, as long as the name isn't, I don't know, changes too much, like I don't know if it got changed to like ZK Banana or something like that, so you have no idea. Yeah, like it works. It works. I like it.
All right. Well, I'm not fixated on either name, and also not overly like fond of ZK credentials. I don't really mind. I like ZK Nyms just for practical reasons. Jaya, by the way, do you want to jump on stage, Jaya, and share your perspective, because I think the community may want to hear it. Hey.
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was typing furiously in the chat. I'm kind of half in another meeting, but I'm happy to give a few words on it. So we have not fully decided yet. So any community feedback on that is totally valued. And I really like the survey that you did, Pseudo, but I think the results were pretty spread across the different options actually. So the jury is still out. The options, either we stick with Coconut, but the fact of the matter is that we've done quite a lot of work since the original Coconut papers, so that's why we kind of want to advance the name a little bit too. There is, and then the other two options is either ZK Creds or ZK Nyms, and ZK Creds obviously is a much more kind of generic reference to credentials more generally. And I know, Pseudo, that I have promised a community call that focuses on the differences between identities and credentials, and we should totally do that. The other option is ZK Nyms, and that's kind of referring not just to the brand, but also to what the word Nym actually means. So, and the way that it's been kind of deployed in, the kind of deeper history of both cypherpunk culture and online cultures in general. Which is, using Nyms online instead of, a kind of full identity, which, when we say a full identity, usually it refers to the way that a nation state might perceive you, right? So various forms of identifying information that allow you to be registered in state registries. So, in the online world, we want to kind of open up for the full scope of possibilities that is available when you're dealing with, not a kind of physical space, but in fact a kind of digital space where we have the capabilities of things like zero knowledge proof technology, and people are actually able to, prove various statements about themselves that can open up for privacy preserving reputation systems and other ways of identifying and creating trust in the online space without having to revert back to the kind of frankly quite violent history of identity systems otherwise. So that's the space that we're working through at the minute, and we're still making the final decision on that.
Can I just jump in and make a pitch for Coconuts? Because I feel that they're being underrepresented in this conversation.
Coming community.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could. There's any way to preserve the coconut in the name and the justification, not just because coconuts are cool, fruits, or I don't know, like cool, fruits, but also because all this ZK landscape, everything is ZK, and like it's really hard to differentiate mentally, I think, between these things. But coconut is such a good symbol of something, and it's funny enough to be remembered. So maybe ZK coconut or Coconim nuts. I don't know. Well, that's weird. So probably not that, but yeah, as a
ZK
differentiator.
Cool. I'll have to go back to Anya and the research team whether ZK Coconut is going to satisfy their requirements. But I'll definitely table that. I'm totally listening, Daniel, and I like the idea of making pina coladas with ZK coconuts and the pineapple creams.
Yes.
I'm going to
Right,
jump
well,
off again and hand it back over.
Thanks for
thanks for
jumping on,
joining.
Jaya.
Thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
it's always a pleasure.
Can I have
Well,
a
and by the way,
question?
guys, just a side note on what Jaya said. We've been promising the IDs versus credentials conversation for quite some time. There's like a strategic time to do it. As you may imagine, our CSO, who's our Chief Strategy Officer, has a pretty strong opinion on that. So I will never let go on that. This is one of the conversations that I look forward the most to. It is going to be very interesting, but all of us will have to wait for that a little bit. But it's going to be awesome. And go ahead, Daniel. Sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no. I just have a question, but I said there's one more question, so maybe let's go with that, and then I ask my question when there's no more questions at the moment. So should I read it up? So the next question is, Joe or Oli, any updates on the Nix chain when Nix governance? As by node.
Yeah, sure. So for those that don't know, the Nix chain is like a new blockchain that's currently being developed by Nym that aims to provide high-level privacy and security for decentralized applications and smart contracts too. And then you got the Nix governance. On the other hand, is the governance of like mechanisms that will allow you to use and manage the Nix chain, like in terms of like making decisions about the development and the operations of it all. So I'm not officially sure whether there's a release date, like a pinpoint release date for the Nix chain or Nix government, unless there's something I missed another week. Joe, do you know anything about that, or Suda, do you know?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the Nix chain is as you know the Nix chain is already underlining everything that happens on the Nym mixnet. So the Nym mixnet is a use case technically of the Nix chain. But what we're talking about here is basically the release of the Nix token itself, and with that also the decentralization of our validator API, which is the final basically step of decentralizing Nym entirely. Now this is a pretty complicated problem. I would recommend everybody listening to the community call we did with Dave, our CTO. It is a pretty, especially for him, who's been around, obviously building this thing from a technical perspective from the get-go, making all the decisions. It's been really frustrating for him that we can't move forward still. Obviously, we do want to do that, but there's quite a few things that need to like fall in place before that happens. So we don't have a set date for this, but just know, guys, that the Nym team is working on this very, very hard every single day. Like this is something that is a very high priority for us because it's basically a major milestone and in like this year's roadmap, but also a major milestone in the history of this project. So that's the final step towards decentralization. And on that note, I will also bring up another chat that Dave had. I can't remember the podcast. I think it was Cosmos. Damn it! I will look it up.
Cosmos Station
Exactly.
Twitter space a couple of weeks back.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, thank you. I will dig up a link to that one as well. If you wanna learn more about what the Nix chain is and what sets it apart from other Cosmos chains, also why we have our own blockchain as opposed to going with an existing solution, and also the history of the decision-making process of why we ended up choosing Cosmos as opposed to anything else. I think that's a conversation which sort of explains this process and the history and the decision making from a very new perspective. At least it was It was very new for me, even though I've heard most of the perspective obviously by now, since I've been around for some time at this point. So yeah, that's highly recommended. Anyways, that was a mighty tangent. Sorry, guys. Anybody has any follow-ups?
Just even more taking further the tangents. So, Oli, go ahead.
No. No. I'm good. I'm good. You can drift it in a different direction if you want to.
I would still stay with Nick's name, and it's kind of what I'm super slow with some stuff, but my big realization was that basically Nym is a very attractive product that runs on the Nix chain. So any application which is supplementary to Nym or uses the Mixnet would be so much easier to run on the Nix chain too, like another different application, because it's so much more interoperable. Even though it's in the Cosmos ecosystem, it's still really interoperable stuff. But kind of, I think any application that uses the Mixnet and also needs a transactional layer, which most applications today will need, it's going to be the thing to launch on Nix. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And then, okay, let me also kind of spoil the podcast conversation that I mentioned earlier. So another big thing about Nix, which I'm really excited about, is that the Nix chain is besides, of course, being sort of quote unquote close to the Nym Mixnet. So anything that is making use of the Nym Mixnet will be the Nix chain will be a very good place for anything like that. But also the Nix chain will have ZK Nym's coconut credentials. I'm not going to go into this war for now, but it will have our zero knowledge credentials enabled. So basically that will be a built-in feature of the Nix chain. It kind of, I think, already is. So the possibilities that are opened up by that for blockchain based applications that have native zero knowledge credentials is I think absolutely magnificent, and it's very unique too. So it's going to be a big first for the crypto space in general. So that's why I'm really looking forward to Nix fully launching, and also the first non-Nym Mixnet applications of the Nix chain. It's going to be really interesting. So I'm super stoked that this is going to happen fairly soon.
And there's one more question which we hadn't chimed in, which also from Node. Do you want to read it out, Sudo, or should I? I mean, I might just as well. So
I'm still looking for that godforsaken link.
Yes.
So
let me just read it out. So 1 month ago, you spoke about a feature to further debug the routing score of a mixed node with sending packets to one mixed node especially. Any updates on this, on the routing scores?
Oh, so let's gather and understand what it was. So was it to particularly hit a mixed node for the sake of just to know how effective that mixed node is, and the result of that will be the routing score? Is that what you meant by it? So you can actually facilitate the whole movement of where your packets are going. Is that what you're trying to understand?
No, so I think to rehash that convo, and it's not only a node dump node, but also it's just a general convo that has been going on for some time. Routing score right now is not only a function of how well your node is doing, basically, but it's also a function of how well other nodes on the path that your node is on are doing. So it's not your routing score as a mixed node operator is not solely up to like your network quality and how stable your configuration is and all of that stuff, but is also kind of dependent on other nodes on the path. So it's basically 3 nodes, and yours being one of them. And if any node on that path is misbehaving, dropping packets, then that's going to be affecting your routing score as well. It's not that simple. I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but that's the gist of it. And I think it was maybe the previous DevRel AMA, or maybe the one before that, I'm not sure, where we talked about debugging, like an actual tool to meaningfully look into what causes your routing score to drop. Because for those of you who don't know, routing scores are pretty important, because they end up affecting how profitable a node is and how profitable delegations to a node are. So basically, from in more ways than one, a mixed node operator is incentivized to keep their routing score high, which is of course so that overall service quality of the mixed net is kept high. So it's a very important stat for mixed node operators. Yet there's right now a little control over why it's misbehaving, if it's misbehaving, like it's hard to troubleshoot that. And I think I can't remember the exact thing that was discussed, but there were some tools being developed which enable mixed node operators to look into routing score a bit more deeper than they currently are able to. Does it help or not help at all?
No, I just hope that answered the question, because obviously I probably missed out the conversation about this. I just knew that we were gonna I think the last information I knew about this was that we were gonna allow people to, I don't know, if we were gonna put this on Nym Connect and then allow people to actually, pick the nodes that they want to hit, and get a result from that. And I think you very well explained that, so that is not just based on the individual node that you have; it's based around the participating nodes that the packets pass on from. But yeah.
Yeah, and well, there's honestly, I'm not sure what the status of the debugging is, but I do know why it's not an easy problem to solve when it comes to Nym. So obviously, if you just run a server or a node on anything, then you can just monitor that server, the ins and outs of it, what it does, and how it performs, right? But as soon as you talk about a mixnet, that becomes immediately, like 785 levels trickier, because as soon as you do any logging of packets in any serious way, you're also likely compromising privacy, at least to some degree. So this is like the fully. I don't want to pretend that I understand the full details. We did talk about this with Claudia in the recent Data Privacy Day special community call that we did. So you may want to listen, give that a listen, because this topic did come up. The point is that to make mixed operators be able to diagnose their routing score, that needs to be done in a very careful way, so that nobody's privacy is compromised in the process, basically. So it's not an easy game, but it is being looked into, and we're working on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm just looking at the moment. I think it looks like this aspect is actually is important to a lot of people here. I'm tempted to actually tomorrow find an actual concrete update on it, and then I can post it in that same channel, or to anyone that wants to know the status of it. Because yeah, man, hosting running nodes is time and money, man. So yeah, I'll definitely try and get like a concrete update on that for you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, but
ask
also,
the seniors and stuff.
Yeah, thanks. No dump node, by the way, my answer was super like generic. Basically, you probably knew already these things because you've been popping up on these calls and AMAs quite a bit. So I would recommend maybe pinging Max for a status update on this, maybe on the DevRel channel, because I think he knows what's up with that debugging thing that we talked about last time. All right, folks. Well, there's a question which I don't really understand, but hopefully you guys will. It's from Dirtybus, and the question is, on Mixnode init, a config that TOML is generated. In that config, there is a logging header. Beneath that there is a hashtag to do. I suppose log level is not yet configurable. I think that's maybe let's take that part of the question first.
I don't think that's so I suppose log level is not yet configurable. I'm not too sure how to answer that question. All I know so far is what you've told me. That I was trying to pull this up on my screen right now just so I can see what's there. But all I know is that Nym does our project site uses like a Rocket Crate, which is like a web framework for like Rust programming languages and stuff. So if I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question actually. I'm a bit stuck on that. So I suppose there's a log level is not yet configurable. I'll probably need to do a bit more investigation into that actually.
Yeah, so that line I haven't actually come across. There is what I can tell you. I mean, I'm gonna give you everyone an update like after all the questions anyway on some of the new binaries that have come out and stuff. But there is new releases scheduled. Well, they were scheduled for today, but now I'm going to say this week. So there's going to be some changes and stuff which may make questions go away, I guess. But yeah, we'll get back to you on that. I'll get back to you on that.
All right, man. And Notam had another question as well. This I haven't heard about either, so maybe you guys know. So he's talking about the changelog of the 1.1.1.10 binaries, which I think dropped this Tuesday. So and the changelog there is this piece that introduce common interface for all service providers to allow obtaining information such as whether they are online, with what binary version they are using, etc. And there's also a ticket number, GitHub ticket number next to it. Do you guys know anything about it? Like what this exactly means?
Give me a second. I'm going to look at it now.
Yeah, I was thinking, Joe, you were taking a look at the changelogs for the 1.1.10 binaries, weren't you? So you'll be better to answer this one.
Yes, I've been doing it today. Like I've been changing over the docs and everything. Do give me a moment.
Yeah, we could probably jump on to the next question and pop back to that one if you want.
Next question. Yeah, so it was a better way to understand performance without other nodes. And I'm not sure what you mean, Pomflig, by that. So can you please elaborate a little bit? And also, hi, Pomflig, by the way. Always good to see you.
Until then, some singing from me. I'm just kidding. Can I?
Oh, please don't.
He was explaining about the question about like testing nodes and stuff in the routing score, I think.
Yeah, no, my apologies, guys. Yeah, so I actually think that from what I can tell from looking at my docs as well, that exact feature it would appear that it is doing exactly as it says. So it literally, I think it is an interface which shows all that info.
I'm still not sure what that actually means.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused for you.
Anyways, well, just getting back to Pomflig's next question for a little bit. So if you mean, Pomflig, that it was a better way to understand performance without the other nodes, but the thing is that it's not possible on the Nym mixnet to understand performance without the other nodes, right? You can't ping nodes. You can't ping nodes individually. So when you want to test the performance of a node, you got to test the performance of a path. It's just the nature of how the mixnet works, and yeah, so it's not possible to just individually test the performance of mixed nodes, unfortunately.
It will basically go against what we're doing, because the whole point of our infrastructure was to have the mixed net, not just the mixed node. If the packets are just going to be sent into one mixed node, it's not going to be as secure as how we're actually pitching it to you guys. So the mixed net is the collection of those mixed nodes. It's a jungle of different mixed nodes and stuff. So it would be plausible to have other mixed nodes involved within that that process. So yeah, Kasuda's correct. So if you were trying to ping a single mixed node, it wouldn't make any sense and it wouldn't work. Like I said, it would go against what we're trying to actually achieve here with the mixed net.
Yeah. That's first of all, that's a really good analogy. The jungle and the mixed net. I like that. I'm going to use that from now on. First time I'm hearing it.
I think I
And
used that in
secondly,
my interview actually with Max. Like, that's how I kind of remember it. It's just a jungle of like mixed nodes, and your packets are scrambling through and stuff, and people are trying to like chase you through the jungle. I don't know. It sounds very it sounds like such a campaign, a gaming campaign.
yeah, yeah, it's a good one. And also, as it turns out, we're preaching to the choir here because Pawnflake understood what we were explaining earlier, but he was referring back to the question from No Dump Node about the debugging, the routing score debugging question and what the status of that is. So, anyways, well, folks, unless there are more community questions, I'm tempted to say goodbye early today.
There is
Um,
one from me, just a very short one, like an extra one. Can I
Is it
jump
a
in?
short question, or is it a question that will have a short answer?
No, yeah, it is a suggestion and maybe up for consideration for Joe and Ollie and and you too. So like what I was thinking, it would be super cool to maybe for next DevRel AMA to get someone from the dev grantees online to speak about what they're developing from the dev grant, because it also might be useful for the whole developer community to hear what kind of development is going on, which is incentivized by Nym. Yeah, what do you guys
Yeah,
think?
100%. Yeah, because I think was it our second DevRel AMA? We actually discussed about the dev grantees, and then Max and I were kind of like batting back and forth between like what each of the dev grantees are actually doing. So you guys already know who they are, what they're doing. It's obviously even better to give you a refresher of what they're doing and stuff, and it'll probably be even more beneficial for the community to invite one of those one of the guys, one of the dev grantees to the call.
And what I have in mind is kind of asking them questions, like maybe one dev grant per dev, like, people to ask questions from, like where are they going, and it's kind of would be interesting for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
folks. I will let you in a secret then, because this kind of ties into something that I was sort of kind of planning already. So I have on my list of possible things to do to have like a special community call with all the dev grantees on. So we can do either that, but on second thought, now that you bring it up, it could actually make more sense to do this on the DevRel AMA. Maybe it's a bit more of like a better topic fit, right? Community calls are a bit more general, and then DevRel AMAs are more developer focused. So so yeah, whichever you prefer. Make your voices heard in the community call text channel. Which one would you prefer, a community call or a DevRel AMA? In an AMA format, or should I prepare questions and then let you guys ask questions at the end, which is the usual format of a community call? I'm up for either, but this is something that I've already been thinking about.
I'm definitely down for you, but I think it'll be a lot more sensible to have them in the DevRel AMA. And like you said, the community calls are a bit more generic, they're a bit more chilled out. It's not too tech heavy. This one can scale and get a bit tech heavy, which is good. It's the correct space where we want those developer grantees to be in. They can answer the questions, they can inspire thoughts about what they're doing in my projects, and it's I feel like the DevRel AMAs, we don't want to make it as too linear. We don't want you guys just to have the questions for us, but you possibly might have some questions you want to ask to the developer grantees. It opens up a new avenue of like learning different things of what they're doing, and that can, like I said, inspire thoughts about things. But yeah, I think it'll be nice to have them guested on here too.
All right, folks. Well, actually, I'm kind of convinced. So let's go. Like 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have a special DevRel AMA with all the grantees. I think that sounds good. Actually, good argument, Oliver. I agree that probably this is like the more compatible space for that. Both because of the format and also because of the audience. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, definitely. But recently I've been feeling like, hey, the dev grantees are out. Oh, we have the dev grantees now. They're underground. They're doing their work and stuff, and there isn't much exposure of them. But I think this is a great space to, give them their exposure and allow you guys to kind of like, reach out to them. But yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds
It's
good.
confirmed, guys. It's happening 2 weeks from today. We're gonna be doing that. Thanks for the tip, Daniel. Yeah, let's go.
Yay! There's one more question though. It's also a
Yeah,
cool
exactly.
question.
Yep. Let's go.
Yeah, you go.
All right. So, question: Matrix rooms we can join? Question mark. I think DevRel has something to say about this, because because Max was really eager to switch all the DevRel related communications over to Matrix. And I already told you guys, by the way, that we internally have moved over, like for internal communications within Nym, we've moved over from Keybase to Element for various reasons. So we've been using it for well, I think over a month at this point. So yeah, are there any channels that people can join?
So we're still trying to wrap our heads around Matrix itself. But right now we've got the community for the dev grantees to join at the moment. I don't know whether I'm correct in saying this, but we're kind of guinea pigging that at the moment just to see how much better it is. I've had my thoughts about Discord. I thought it was just a bit too noisy, and I think it would be better to kind of like migrate people into Element, into Matrix. It gets you a bit closer to Nym internally. We're a bit more responsive on there, sort of like turning our heads and getting whiplash from like dancing between one comms to another. I'm definitely down for opening up some channels and kind of like duplicating them from the Discord into there. One thing I do think about is stuff like this, like the DevRel AMAs. If we've transferred like most of our channels onto the Matrix, what are we just going to continue having the DevRel AMAs or community calls here? Is there still going to be a split? What are your thoughts on that, Pseudo, actually?
Yeah, so as you guys may imagine, you know, I've as head of community, I've been heavily involved in channels. I was mostly responsible for setting up this Discord server, like launching it and then auditing it from time to time so that it works properly, and putting different bots on it, and then designing stuff that we wanted to happen on Discord. For example, Shipyard Academy in its entirety, like the role system for Shipyard Academy and the quizzes for Shipyard Academy, all of that stuff. So obviously, I've been thinking quite a bit about Element and Matrix in general, and overall the broader conversation, which we've been having for quite some time publicly as well. So Jaya and I have talked about this as well. I think this also came up with Max on one of the DevRel AMAs as well, and in various places. That we guys, it's not going to be a shocking surprise, we just don't fucking like Discord, right? Because it's a privacy nightmare. Same is true of Telegram to a lesser degree, but it is true. Also, all of these platforms are not self-hosted, so our Discord server theoretically could be shut down at any moment, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? But then, just like you pointed out, Ollie, and it's a good point. There's also like a careful consideration of what is possible on Element, you know, what kind of functionalities we're making use of right now in Discord, and how if at all that would carry over to Element, and then our Element strategy would have to be determined accordingly. So my big gripe with Element, but this is just something that you have to live with, right? Is that on Discord, with all of its faults, you have this extensive role-based system, so you can both distinguish people, you know, with roles. So you can run Shipyard Academy based on the role, like with the help of the role system, right? And then you can do things like fine tune everything every single role can do. So you can have role for Nym team, you can have role for I don't know, community managers and moderators, each with their different permissions. You can set permissions on a channel by channel basis. There is some level of that control existing on Element as well, but it's not even close to what Discord has. So for me, that's one of the key considerations when it comes to Element. I would want to move stuff over to Element, of course, and like we shared this already with the community. When we thought about this with Jaya, we arrived at this model where you know, the Discord and Telegram and all of our sort of non-secure platforms are like the town square, right? Town square level discussions are happening on it. Of course, everything that we do are shared on these platforms, you know, and we're there and we hang out with our community. But then the office type conversations, you know, which you would normally come into our office for, you know, and have a face-to-face with me or Jaya or whatever, or just something that is more private, that is closer to the core of the project will likely happen on Element instead, which is nice. But the specifics of that are still very much not clear. Like what kind of, like, if I did, for example, a community call on Element, could I give people POAPs? People like POAPs. So then if I can't give POAPs on Element, then obviously a lot of people will be happy about that still, because at least we moved over to a more secure platform that is also hosted by Nym, so it's impossible to shut down unless they shut our servers down. But then, we lost functionality that some other people may have enjoyed. So this is all like a pretty complicated exercise to figure out exactly what our Element strategy is. And also, like Ollie said, it is being looked into right now, what Element is capable of in the first place. Like we already have a pretty good idea of it, obviously from practice, because we've been using it for a month or so. But we still need to do some work when it comes to that. But that said, just a hint,
Sorry,
guys.
oh yeah.
If you search Elements today, you will find Nym on it. So we didn't advertise this, but you can already search for Nym, and our public channels are there, and you can join and you can hang out there. Just a hint. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
That was a super cool hint. No, so, yeah, I was just wondering when you finish the sentence, and you're really good in.
I never finish sentences. That's my superpower.
No, you do. No, amazing. It's really good to know. I wanted to ask this, what you just answered, it, if we search, but I could have just searched on my thing. But yes, I wanted to give like this other perspective on these platforms, because it kind of already works in ways of, like, if you imagine this funnel community, Twitter and Telegram being the largest, where the most people are usually, and then it takes some more engagement and effort to onboard into a really detailed platform such as Discord, which is quite a huge effort to keep up with what's happening on any Discord, and then I really like the metaphor of the castle and then different rooms, different levels of the same imaginary information place. If you're even more engaged than Discord and you have super specific developer stuff or like trusted questions that you want to ask, then you go on to Element. And I think there should not be like an aggressive migration, because that might mean losing people who are just at the level. It's like deleting the Telegram group. It's also not something you want to do. So it's kind of, where you put the most.
Lizzie attacked. It's Hux's dog. Super cute, by the way. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making, right? We need to be where the eyeballs are. This I already communicated with you guys. This is our stance. We're not going to shut down Discord. We're going to be very vocal about the problems with Discord. So we're always going to be very straight up and vocal about the issues with these platforms, but we need to be where the eyeballs are, right? So we need to be able to reach people, and then it's great if those people end up on our Element at some point, and start caring more about privacy. But one of the ways in which we achieve that is by reaching more people, and that means we're present on Twitter, we're present on Discord, we're present on Telegram. Not on Facebook though, so there's a line that we draw. So not on Meta products, you won't find us there, except for this little one pager, which I think we have a one pager on Facebook, which nobody ever looks at, which is just set up so that some info is available about us, but we're not active on Facebook at all, and we'll never be on any Meta product.
Never say never. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, so there's a screenshot from Pamphlet. I never said. Yeah, and I'm also not finding the Nym public rooms on Matrix.
Oh, do you know what? That's fine. I'm probably gonna put up a little guide on how you can actually get to there, because I was having some issues trying to get myself onto there as well. So yeah, give us Joe and I. We're gonna pollute the channels, Discord with guides answering the questions and stuff. So we'll tell you guys how to do it, and then hopefully that will stick.
One last question, actually. I will need to go exactly at 0:00, but Hux can stay over and finish up the call with you guys. But I think it's a pretty important question from Node. Are these projects, and he's referring back to the dev grantees and their projects, are they open source? And also, I would add to this question whether they are like mandatory, whether it's mandatory for them to be open source, or we don't enforce that.
Do you know what? I think we encouraged that in the very beginning when we were starting up our applications on them. Because it has been quite some time since we actually announced them, and then since they've been starting on them, just need to double check on them whether they actually are still open source. But I can still access them via GitHub. But I just don't know the privileges I have to because when it comes to dev grantees, there's an aspect of it where they're going to get some developer support. They're going to get support from the DevRel team as well. We could probably poke our hands into there and try and help them out with just the littlest of things, like if they're having some issues with how to integrate with certain things or use Nym, we can also just assist them. So I think there's some privileges to how we can help them, but I don't think they're fully open source in the sense that you can start contributing to them. I think the projects, it's just so that we know who's actually working on them, just abiding by the applications that they put through. But I'm sure they'll be open source soon. Their deadlines are coming up, spring, summertime. So yeah, I think they'll be open source soon.
Okie dokie. Well, hopefully that was an answer to your questions. Actually, you boys are free to stay over. I will have to drop out though, so I'm going to do that. Please stay over and discuss anything else you want to discuss. And the recording will be uploaded. I'm recording with Craig, as you may have noticed in the audience. Also, please Hux, give the audience the usual overview of how they can claim their POAPs, which are very important, obviously. And yeah, have fun, everyone. See you next time.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. I've got to pop out too, actually. So
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
just
sure.
wrap up. Yeah, let's just wrap up. I also wanted to suggest. So thanks, guys, for coming. Everybody for joining. Thank you, Sudo, for hosting and asking. Thank you, Oli and Joe, for answering and chatting with us today. And yeah, it was amazing. DevRel AMA call today. And if you can claim a POAP after this call as after any and all Nym calls in the claim attendance channel, just put hashtag claim, and you're gonna be taken to this page. Thank you, guys, again. See you in 2 weeks.
Guys,
take care, guys.
Guys, real quick.
Yeah.
Public service announcement. Nym version 1.1.10 is now live as of about 40 minutes ago. There is going to be a case for some people who have existing network requesters registered with Nym Connect. There will be some things you'll need to kind of switch over regarding key pairs, but don't worry, because the information will be sent out for you in line-by-line command form. So yeah, just a heads up, so none of you guys are programmer raging when things might not be working as expected. So yeah, there'll be instructions sent to you guys about some things that you'll need to switch over. Welcome, guys.